Hello. My name's Thomas. Thomas Aquinas. Nice to meet you. Want some eggnog? Mama always said faith was like a good glass of eggnog and reason is the spice rum. You don't really need reason, but it makes it all go down a whole lot easier. Those must be some nice pants. I bet you could study all day in pants like those.
I'm really uncomfortable.
I remember my first pair of pants. When I had those on, I really felt like I could study all day long.
Sorry, I'm using this one.
Someone sitting here. You know, it's funny what your brain chooses to remember. I don't remember being born. I don't even remember my first time confessing to a priest. But I do remember the first time hearing the sweetest voice I think I've ever heard.
Friends, you! You can sit next to me if you want. I'm Epicurus, but you can call me Epi. What's your name?
My name's Thomas. Thomas Aquinas. Nice to meet you. Epi, what are you doing?
I just completed my book. What are you doing?
Well, I'm reading the Holy Scriptures. Have you read the Gospel of John?
No.
Mama always said this was the Word of God. What do you believe?
Look at this fool.
After that, I became a professional football player. And, Epi, she went to a college far, far away. What with all the football playing and education, I didn't really see all that much of her. College was fun, but it went by like a horse on a dirt road. And I never really know what to do with myself.
Hey, have you ever considered serving your country?
Private Johnson! You must be the slowest man in this army. You are really putting me on edge.
Gun drill, Sergeant!
Gosh darn it, Private Aquinas! How did you finish so quickly?
Because you told me to, Drill Sergeant.
Dadgummit, son! You must be the smartest man in this army. Do it again!
Okay, that was pretty good. I'm Tertullian. What's your name? You like philosophy? I like it pretty good. You can find philosophy in a lot of places if you look hard enough. Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, 1 Corinthians,
Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon.
Isn't that all the Bible?
Well, yeah, what else do you need?
Don't you think that some of the secular philosophers have ideas that are consistent with Scripture? Think of Socrates, for example. He had this idea that to deny oneself was one of the most virtuous things you could do.
Yes, but Christ himself became a man, and he put us in this body for a reason, so that point of view implies that we have no role in it.
But think about Aristotle's unmoved mover, this being that set all other things into being. Does that not sound like God?
Well, that's reducing God to simply a cause and nothing more. Psalm 139 says, "Where can I go from your spirit, or where can I flee from your presence?" God is active and present in all things. Any philosopher that assumes God has an inactive role in creation is leading others astray. It's heresy.
But didn't Boethius say...
Heretic.
Okay, what about Plato?
Heretic. The problem with all these philosophers is that they're searching for truth apart from the ultimate source of truth, God. Without faith, all their reasoning is vain and is even harmful. In their endless search for truth through reasoning, they've led themselves and others astray. All we need to rely on is faith in God and that which He has divinely inspired.
That's a good point, but think about the sophists. You know how big of a thorn in our sides they've become. I read this book recently, and it was telling me that we can actually gain by studying science and mathematics, because those things will help us better defend against the attacks of the sophists.
Who wrote that?
Clement of Alexandria.
Are you kidding me?
You think of it, Tertullian was really the best friend I ever had in the army, but now that I think about it, I don't know that he ever really knew my name. Yeah, well, I did end up losing my friend Tertullian in that bomb that went off, but you know, sometimes God really does use evil things for good. I met my best friend, Lieutenant Plotinus, in that play.
Thomas, I wish you hadn't saved me from that bomb blast.
Why, Lieutenant Plotinus?
Do you believe in destiny? I believe it was my destiny to die in that war. I was going to ascend, and Thomas, you cheated me out of it.
What do you mean, Lieutenant Plotinus? I believe every human life has inherent dignity and value, so why wouldn't I have saved you from the fire?
But the body is fallen. I believe we serve a higher purpose, to serve a higher power. Do you believe in a higher power?
Well, of course I believe in God, and yes, we're submit to a higher power, but man exists in a fallen state. That's how we relate to him.
No, I don't think that's quite right. Our souls have been placed in these bodies like they're tuned by the world soul. But we still have part of the world soul with us. And our goal is to seek it and understand it.
So, but that still sounds a lot like God. How do you get closer to that soul?
We get closer to it by when we come to this understanding of it, we start to kind of mirror it. And by doing that, we grow closer to the world soul and our bodies have less influence on us.
Doesn't that reason you were talking about lead you straight to God?
Well, having faith in the metaphysical and reasoning our way to understanding that the world soul is a reflection of the intelligible being all things that can be reasoned. And the intelligible is a reflection of the one, which is the most perfectest of beings, that we must have faith in its existence. But it must exist. But then reasoning creates better understanding of the faith, and that's what helps us strive to be more perfect. And by doing that, brings us closer to the world soul and further from the flawed bodies.
We talk about this idea of perfect, and I'm still trying to figure out where this aligns with my view. Would you say that perfection is something that we attain, or is that something that's already within us?
Our souls are really
Lieutenant Plotinus was the best friend I ever had. I just felt like I could talk to him all day. But in those times when I had time to think, I still thought of Epi. That's why I'm here. I wanted to see her today.
I'd be curious. She's just down that hill.
Run,
Thomas, run!
Epi! It's good to see you, Epi.
Hey, fool!
How have you been, Epi?
Good.
Where are you going?
I'm a stoic now.
Who are the Stoics, Epi?
There's, Marcus, Seneca, Epictetus,
Epi. Who are the Stoics?
Oh no, it looks like I've contracted a cough or something, and that's changed the way my voice sounds.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to your beautiful voice.
I guess we can talk about philosophy now.
Let's do it. So, as a Stoic, what do you believe is man's moral basis for living?
Well, as a Stoic, I found purpose in meaning in the fact that there is no ultimate purpose. Basically saying there is nothing beyond the material realm. What we see, with a few exceptions, is all that there is.
So, what is Stoicism?
Well, to put it shortly, what I've learned in my life since we've last spoken several years ago is that beyond reason there is nothing. It's just an illusion to explain the things that we can't comprehend. What I mean by that is the purpose of life is to reason, is to control our relationship with pleasures, avoid hedonism, and integrate ourselves to become a more complete person.
Do you subscribe to any idea of, anything that we should have faith in? Do you believe that, this worldview is purely reason-based?
I would say yes. I think we can't know that for sure, and the only thing we can rely on is our reason. That's why we're the Stoics. We're supposed to be controlled, logic-based, and over our emotions.
What about claims that the Bible is divinely inspired?
I would disagree with that.
So if someone were to present you with a good reason for God's existence, not based on faith, but purely by rationale, do you think you could come over to the side?
If someone were to convince me, then it'd have to be a good argument.
You've read Aristotle, right? He had this idea of the unmoved mover that set all things into being, set all things into motion. I think, wouldn't you be able to expect all motion is set off by the thing that gave it motion beforehand? Doesn't that have to begin somewhere?
Well, look, for me, I think it's as simple as this, and the point that you're missing. All that there is the invisible and visible. The universe is constructed out of two separate materials, of which we don't know what the essence is. But the fact of it comes down to, in atomism and in the way that this world is upheld and built, there are only two substances. There is no God.
But where's your moral grounding for life at that point? Why do you live the way you do?
We would limp that in with the invisible. There are some things we don't know and that we can't unlock with reasoning. But ultimately, that is the answer, is reasoning and prudence.
I think Christianity's answers are a much more compelling argument for the way you're meant to live. Think about this.
Go ahead.
You have all these ideas of goodness, of justice, prudence. Would you say these are good qualities?
Yes, especially prudence.
So all of these things, is there not, beings that are more prudent, less prudent? So surely for all of these, there is something that is the most prudent. There's the most prudent being. All of these things, most prudent, most good, most just, I feel like that all points to one being.
Well,
and so if you're looking for these qualities, you can find those in that one being, which I believe to be God. And not only that, but if you put your faith in this God, and I believe this is where faith comes into play. The Bible tells us, if you put your faith in God, you understand more how this Creator views us, our relationship to Him, and this is where you find eternal peace.
And where are you basing this off of?
Well, logic leads me, there must be a God, surely. Do you agree that there's a God?
I don't. To me, life is almost a spectrum of, we're to avoid the carnal hedonism. We are to exist at this status of comfort, which to me is avoiding access. So to me, pleasure is somewhere in the middle. That is what I think the purpose of life is to stay in the spot in the middle of these two extremes. And that gleans humans the most amount of pleasure. You should avoid excess pain, but you should also avoid hedonism or excess pleasure. So I think somewhere in the middle lies the secret.
If you don't have this faith, I don't understand what you're living for at all.
Well, that's a question I've thought about a lot too, but at the end of the day, as I've talked about, the best and most enjoyable way to live is this moderation, pleasure compound I've come up with. I truly believe that we're all dust in the wind. We're all atoms floating around in this invisible space. So at the end of the day, the point is to live pleasurably, to live moderately. That is the point of living. That is why there is no faith. And that is what reason has led me to believe.
Well, I guess we disagree then.
I guess we do. Goodbye forever, fool.
Goodbye forever.